everyone, and thanks again for joining us for this Saturday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting today's show. Up first, we've got on the hazardous weather graphic quite an area of warnings and watches, with the warnings there along the, or for St. Lawrence Island. That kicks in at midnight tonight in the Bering Strait coast for blowing snow, looking for about, I believe, 2 inches or so of additional snow. But with winds gusting to 50 miles an hour, that'll create whiteout conditions, blizzard conditions, as they're otherwise known, for that area. And winter storm warnings out for the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta coast for late tonight and into tomorrow, at least into tomorrow afternoon, or the entire day tomorrow, for blowing snow there, with gusty winds 30 to 50 miles an hour in gusts, and a fair amount of snow, anywhere from 4 to 8 inches. And then that progresses eastward, but takes a little longer to get in, say, to the Koyukuk Valley and the Tanana area bettles. That's probably kicking in tomorrow evening, late tomorrow afternoon or so. And then the watch area there for the greater Fairbanks area, Fort Yukon, Yukon Flats, eastward to the border, including Eagle, Northway, and Tok. It kicks in for the Tanana, or for the Fairbanks area, the area to the west there in the watch zone. Let's see, that kicks in at 6 p.m. Tomorrow, Sunday afternoon, tomorrow evening, 6 p.m., and is out until about 6 p.m. Monday. And so about 24 hours worth of some heavy snow and possibly wind as well, but really the snow, looking for 8 to 14 inches falling there in the watch area possible, with maybe 2 feet falling in some locations, and the heaviest snowfall will be north and west of Nenana. So some pretty good shot of snow coming in, at least in the forecast there for the central interior for the next 24, 36 hours. Otherwise, to the south, no watches, warnings, or advisories. To the north, no watches, warnings, or advisories. And same thing, wrong direction, out over the Bering Sea and Aleutians, watch and warning free there as well. And Panhandle, no watches, warnings, or advisories either. And for the satellite imagery, you can see clearing occurring with drier northwest flow there from Bristol Bay coming across the Aleutian Range, right across Kodiak Island, gusts 40, 50 miles an hour to the northwest today. And overwater trajectory, though, picking up some clouds, maybe some snow showers there over the Barren Island areas, and then on in toward the Gulf. But pretty nice day, Kenai Peninsula, decreasing clouds, Cook Inlet, and also Prince William Sound clearing out, and a storm system having moved through the Panhandle. So rain, pretty good rainfall amounts, over an inch, in some cases inch and a half in the last 24 hours, central and southern Panhandle. The last 12 hours, rainfall amounts have been on the order of, let me see, somehow the wind blew my cheat sheet around, about half an inch of precipitation in 12 hours at Indian at 3 p.m. this afternoon at Wrangell. And Klawock had about 2/3 of an inch, so not terribly heavy. Ketchikan just under an inch, about 9/10 of an inch or so. Juneau, 1/3 of an inch. So kind of a generic mediocre rainfall actually going on there with, of course, snow at higher elevations and becoming showery this afternoon. You can see a lot of open cell Q just to your west. That's with the upper trough and the more unstable air. And that'll be swinging in this evening, but diminishing. And big storm out west there, bringing wind gusts over 50 miles an hour now at Adak from the southeast, while northwest winds are pretty gusty, now diminishing there. Kodiak Island, they're 40, 50 miles an hour, and also about the same for the Alaska Peninsula earlier today, and those are coming down now as the ridge of high pressure shifts eastward over that area ahead of that active front. In the low center, just south of the Komodorskis there, you can see on the last frame of the imagery. And onto the chart, that's a 971 millibar low out there south of Komodorskis. Pretty active front, storm force winds and gales ahead of that. Again, gales, gusts 50 miles an hour already occurring at Adak with rain or snow changing to rain. And precipitation getting just west of the Pribilofs as high pressure ridging shifts eastward to along the coast today. And so those winds, Alaska Peninsula coming down and drying out with a fair amount clearing in some areas. Clouds lingering in other areas. It's not completely clear like I have it drawn there from the Alaska Peninsula right up the west coast there to the western Arctic coast, but it definitely is dry with lighter winds. And snow showers hanging along the west side of the Alaska range there up into the Tanana Valley. Some areas of light snow today, generally an inch or less having fallen there and kind of winding down, and Copper River Basin about the same thing. And some rain and snow, Cordova, Yakutat, and of course the rain mostly at the lower elevations over the Panhandle with some snow at higher elevations. And for tonight, that system will continue to kick off to the east slowly. Several troughs though, one right off the coast there, kind of help linger the snow showers, especially down south, rain and snow showers there. And depending on your elevation, of course, and a lot less of a chance up to the north, tending to dry out with more of an offshore flow developing, and dry for the North Gulf Coast, and still some areas of flurries and fog, lower stuff for the east side there, north of the Alaska Range. Otherwise, light winds and generally clearing skies, where it's clear it'll be below zero again tomorrow morning, but warming temperatures with southerly winds and increasing snow chances coming into the southwest interior. Kind of a first shot band there moving inland to the Kuskokwim, Togiak Bay areas, but that'll be quite light compared to the more heavier stuff back to the west there, heavy wind, rain, and snow, and the blizzard winter storm warnings ahead of that. Tomorrow, as you can see, that drives right into the southwest interior, pushing snow all the way up to Kotzebue, maybe Red Dog Dock area. Snow and blowing snow St. Lawrence Island, improving in the afternoon for St. Lawrence Island and the Bering Strait coast, but on the increase there for the western interior, possibly mixing with rain, southwest winds, warmer temperatures there, southwest coast. And rain definitely for the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, and pretty strong winds out over the Bering Sea, just catching the western area storm warnings tomorrow for the western Aleutians to about Atka, and just under storm force for Adak and Atka. I'm sorry, for Shemya and Amchitka. Adak and Atka just under storm, I think 40-45 knots there. And fair over the Panhandle, still fair over the eastern interior, but that changes. Snow shifts eastward tomorrow night and through Monday as that front begins to weaken, kind of becomes diffuse there over the eastern interior, but it's generally close to where I have it drawn in there, and then a triple point over the eastern North Gulf Coast, warm front, rain into the Panhandle, and a lot of moisture, that low center over Norton Sound coming into the western interior. Lows tonight, 20s and 30s in the Panhandle, 5 below Copper River Basin, and 5 below to 15 above south central Alaska, upper 20s Kodiak Island, just under 20 Bristol Bay. Below zero, 10 on a valley all the way out to the Arctic coast, with the coldest for the North Slope, anywhere 30-35 below. A little above zero, St. Lawrence Island. Above freezing for the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. And highs tomorrow, or in the 20s, southern Alaska, mid-30s out along the coast, lower 40s, Bristol Bay, Kodiak Island, as well as the Panhandle. And for the northern interior, North Slope, Arctic coast below zero, into the lower 20s in the central interior, near 30 St. Lawrence Island. Good warming with southerly flow, mid to upper 40s for the Alaska Peninsula and eastern Aleutians. And lows a little milder on Monday morning.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
First line weather graphics, Sunday morning, not too bad over the interior. Some areas of marginal VFR there. Yukon River northward into the Kobuk, Koyukuk Valley there, and then southward into the Kuskokwim Valley, and along the east side, or the west side of the Alaska Range. Otherwise, southern Alaska VFR east of the Alaska Range into the Gulf, northern 2/3 of the Panhandle VFR, marginal VFR down south, IFR pushing into the Yukon Delta and Kuskokwim Delta, Kuskokwim Bay during the morning hours, and we'll see by the afternoon that makes a pretty good jog to the east and northeast, covering just about all the Seward Peninsula and up the lower Yukon River Valley to about the mid valley there almost, with marginal VFR just a little bit farther out in advance, but staying VFR, central eastern interior, northern Cook Inlet, and the Manuska Valley. So Sidna Valley start possibly seeing maybe some marginal VFR on the west side there, but basically a good day, Panhandle VFR. And IFR down across the Alaska Peninsula, northern Bering Sea, St. Lawrence Island, and marginal for the western Aleutians, VFR, Adak and Atka. And then for Monday morning, that VFR area extends from Atka across Nikolsky on Alaska Dutch Harbor into the western Alaska Peninsula. But just to the north, marginal VFR becomes IFR for the Pribilof Islands and a big chunk of the western interior and Seward Peninsula. Marginal VFR for the northwest coast. IFR, though, Kotzebue, Selawik, Kobuk Valley, Koyukuk Valley, down to the Yukon River. And just now kind of a small area of VFR holding over the eastern interior there. And as well as the north slope and the Arctic coast, though, VFR, Panhandle VFR. And for Monday afternoon, VFR makes a reappearance out over the western Aleutians there, and otherwise marginal ADAC eastward to on Alaska Island, and then the Alaska Peninsula, marginal VFR, Kodiak Island, marginal, Fognak Island, VFR into southern Cook Inlet, southern Kenai Peninsula, Kachemak Bay, Homer, Seldovia, looking good. Monday afternoon, VFR. IFR from Cape St. Elias, eastward to Yakutat, down into Elfin Cove in the north coast. Otherwise, marginal to IFR for the remainder of the Panhandle. Pretty good area of IFR, St. Lawrence Island up to the northwest coast, and that covers the Norton Sound, Seward Peninsula, eastward, there across the Kobuk into the Koyukuk Valley, and moving on to passes. Anatuvik, VFR tomorrow, as well as Adigan, another VFR day, at least one more, as the high-pressure ridge shifts slowly eastward across the area, so good flying conditions for the Brooks Range. Western Alaska Range, look for a deterioration of conditions, thickening, lowering ceilings throughout the day. Just call it VFR becoming IFR. And same trend, downward trend for rainy as well throughout the day, with conditions lowering best in the morning and worst in the afternoon. And for windy, though, I think you'll see a definite increase in the clouds in the afternoon, but it should stay VFR until probably Sunday evening. And then Isabel, good VFR. And Mentasta, same thing, VFR, seems visibility is unlimited, as is Tanita, stays VFR, increasing clouds in the afternoon. Portage, VFR, again, and Chilcoot and White, good VFR. Freezing levels southerly flow of that system, pulling some warmer air, definitely warmer air, and over the eastern Aleutian, 6,000 to 8,000 feet there across the Fox Islands, 2,000 feet right up to just about St. Paul, and into the Alaska Peninsula. And the surface there, not quite up to St. Matthew Island, but well north of the Aleutians, and then hugging the North Gulf Coast, and then cutting down across the Panhandle. Icing, good shot of icing cutting across the central and southern Panhandle of the considerable moderate rime variety there, and then a much less kind of an elevated threat of some icing there over the Copper River Basin, but general icing free over the interior, eastern Bering Sea and interior Alaska, and then a band of icing pushing eastward with the front, the heaviest though over the western Bering Sea. So there's some isolated moderate in toward Adak late in the day. And for the jet stream, good southwest flow at 33,000 feet, 140 and 155 knots there just north of the eastern Aleutians, right into Togiak Bay, and then cutting westerlies, 140 knots, Kamishak Gap into the Gulf, diminishing a little bit, and about 125 knots off the southeast coast. Otherwise, moving on to 9,000 feet, trough over the northern Bering, southwest winds 60 to 80 knots, right up into the southwest Bristol Bay area, much lighter over the central and northern interior areas. And moving on to turbulence, moderate chop, Kodiak Island, Aleutians, and southern Panhandle.
Dual polarization technology is a major upgrade to the current radar system. It allows forecasters a better idea of what's actually out there and can help keep you safe.
Current radar technology transmits and receives information in the horizontal direction, which is very limited. Dual polarization technology, in addition to the horizontal, transmits and receives vertical energy, which allows forecasters to get information about the size, shape, and phase of the precipitation. We can use that information to better determine the precipitation type to expect at your given location.
There you have it. This new technology is currently being installed in radars across the country and is already being used by National Weather Service forecasters to produce better, more accurate forecasts. Learn more here and follow us. Want to know about the future of weather radar? Well, the National Severe Storms Lab has it here with its new phased array radar. Let's check it out.
It's a non-moving radar. It has 4 faces of the antenna, each pointing in different directions. One of the big advantages is that we're seeing so far, it can sample the area around the radar in less than a minute, maybe even a half a minute. And this is 5-6 times faster than what they can do today.
NSSL is leading the development of future weather radar with this project. Learn more here and follow us. The Storm Prediction Center is one of the NOAA weather partners. They are located in the National Weather Center in Norman, Oklahoma. Greg Carbon gives us a glimpse into what the SPC does.
Our mission is to analyze and forecast severe thunderstorms and the potential for tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds from those thunderstorms across the lower 48 states, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. One of the primary missions of the Storm Prediction Center is the issuance of severe thunderstorm and tornado watches across the country when conditions appear to be coming together to support the development of severe thunderstorms and tornadoes.
The world-class meteorologists in the Storm Prediction Center specialize in severe weather and keeping you safe. Learn more here and follow us.
The National Severe Storms Lab is working on increasing the lead time for severe weather warnings. The national average for tornado warnings is currently 13 minutes, but more notice would be helpful, especially for those in charge of moving large groups to shelter. Warn on Forecast will help forecasters issue hazardous weather warnings earlier. The project will give them more info about the chances of strong winds, large hail, and even tornadoes.
Currently, warnings are created by forecasters looking at the atmosphere outside, understanding its volatility, and then comparing that to how they see the Doppler radar presenting what's going on inside thunderstorms. Warn on Forecast is an idea where we're going to take the massive amounts of satellite, radar, and surface data and stick them all into a very high resolution prediction model. And then by producing new forecasts every 15 or 20 minutes, the forecasters hopefully will be able to use that model to produce warnings that extend out to an hour.
Before the National Weather Service can use this tool, it must be developed and tested. One big challenge will be deciding how to get the model predictions to the forecasters.
I'm going to keep this one very low. I'm just adjusting the track.
These hazardous weather prediction models are going to produce a huge amount of output. And this fire hose of data is just too much for forecasters to handle in real time quickly. So in order to help deal with that, NSSL has developed a related project called Facets. And Facets is the methodology which will enable forecasters to focus very quickly on the most important threats.
Once Warn on Forecast and Facets are proven to be reliable and effective, then forecasters will be better able to inform you of threats nearby. Learn more here and follow us.
The Hazardous Weather Test Bed is located at the National Weather Center in Norman, Oklahoma. It is used for experiments that will allow forecasters to learn and apply new technologies.
The Hazardous Weather Test Bed is a really unique space throughout all of NOAA. And this is where the researchers and the operational folks come together in a common space to solve operational problems and to test new research tools that the research community is working on. The goal is to accelerate the transfer from research to operations of the newest tools and techniques.
People come from around the world to collaborate on this unique project.
And we can bring together not only NOAA people, but also university people, faculty, researchers, private sector meteorologists, folks working in other countries in meteorology, forecasters can all come together and focus on what the problem of the day is with the forecasters.
Each spring, several experiments occur in the Hazardous Weather Test Bed. Learn more here and follow us.
What are you looking at? And what are you ignoring? Did you notice the NOAA logo in the corner? Forecasters have a lot of information in front of them too. Every second counts during severe weather, and decisions about where to focus are constantly being made. This could be even more challenging in the future. Phased array radar will produce 4 to 6 times more information than what we have now, which brings us to the question researchers are hoping to answer. Will more radar information affect forecasters' decisions?
From our past experiments, we've learned a lot about how forecasters think during the warning decision process, but we've also learned that those thought processes are very complex, and for that reason, we need a better way to be able to track forecasters' cognitive activity.
Inbounds and possibly golf ball sized hail.
An eye tracker is a piece of technology that is used to determine in real time where someone's eye gaze is located. And these eye trackers are typically video-based, which means a camera sits below a computer monitor, and with infrared light and vector analysis, we can determine where a person is looking and how their eyes are moving.
Eye tracking is already being used in the medical field and air traffic control. Using similar research methods, NSSL is discovering the benefit for weather forecasting too. Phased array radar will give forecasters a lot more to think about. Understanding their decision-making process will help researchers develop even more user-friendly tools. So what's the benefit for you? Even better weather warnings. To learn more, check us out online and follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Looking at the coastal water forecast there for the outer coastline. Lightest on the north coast there, northwest 15 knots. Small craft advisories on the south coast, where winds will be northwest on Sunday, 25 to 30 knots, with seas running 13 to 14 feet. Small craft advisories over the central and southern inside waters of the Panhandle there, with Clarence Strait looking at a northwest wind at 25 knots. Northerlies at 30 knots for Stevens Passage. Gale warnings for Lynn Canal tomorrow. North, sustained 35 knots, seas 7 feet. And for the outlook on Monday, west winds, pretty uniform, sea heights, wind direction, and speed. West 25 knots, seas running right around 13 feet, the entire stretch of the outer coastline. Inside waters, southern inside waters for Clarence Strait, southeast at 15 knots, 6-foot seas. And for Stevens Passage and Lynn Canal, both southeast at 15 with 3-foot seas. Prince William Sound tomorrow, northerlies at 20 knots, seas 3 feet. And for the North Gulf Coast, small craft advisories, northwesterlies 25 knots with seas just under 10 feet. West 30 knots for the Barren Islands, 14-foot seas, and Kamishak Bay, wind swinging around to the southeast and increasing to 25 knots later in the afternoon, seas building to 10 feet, otherwise light winds out of the north for Cook Inlet. And then on Monday, small craft advisories for southern Cook Inlet, wind southwest 25 knots, seas just under 10 feet. Southwest 20 for Kamishak Bay, west 20 northern Cook Inlet. Small craft advisories for the Barren Islands, southwest winds 30 knots with 11-foot seas. And for the North Gulf Coast, westerlies 20 knots, 9 to 10-foot seas. Light winds out of the north for Prince William Sound with slight seas. And for Kodiak Island, 35-knot gales there on the west side of the island from the southwest, otherwise Shelikof Strait southwest at 30, seas 10 to 12 feet. And then 40-knot winds from the southwest from Sitkinak to Cape Sarachev, with 12 to 14-foot seas, southerly gales at 40 knots with the Bering Sea side of the peninsula, and Bristol Bay looking at a small craft advisory with those southerly winds at 30 knots and 7-foot seas. And for Monday, southwest winds 30 to 35 knots for the Alaska Peninsula, southwest 30 for Bristol Bay, also southwest winds 30 knots for the area from Cape Sarachev to Sitkinak, up the east side of Kodiak Island, Shelikof Strait, southwest 25 knots with 10-foot seas. Fox Islands, Unalaska Island, south to southwest, 40 to 45 knots tomorrow, 17-foot seas. Unmak Island, southwest at 40 knots with seas just under 20 feet. And Adak and Atka, good gales, southwest, 40 to 45 knots with seas in the lower 20s. Storm warnings west for Amchitka all the way out to Shemya, west-southwest 50 knots, seas 27 to 29 feet. Monday, those come down to small craft advisories. Central and western Aleutians, mostly west, or all west at about 30 knots, a little lighter, 25 knots shimmying at 2. Gale warnings, Bering Sea side of Unalaska Island, southwest 35 knots. And then otherwise seas for the Fox Islands running 17 to 21, or 15 to 21 feet. Southwest coast tomorrow, gale warnings, south winds 35 knots. South winds 35 knots also for St. Matthew Island, just under storm force winds for the Pribilof, southwest 45 knots, 21-foot seas, and winds for St. Lawrence Island, east 40 knots, east 30 for Norton Sound. And the outlook for Monday, St. Lawrence Island, back around to the north, 25 knots, southwest 30 knots for the Yukon Delta coast, gale warnings For the Kuskokwim Delta coast and the Pribilofs, southwest 35, both zones there with 10 to 20-foot seas, especially around the Pribilofs with 20-foot seas. Northwest 25 for St. Matthew Island, seas 15 feet. Eastern Beaufort Sea coast, westerlies tomorrow, 10 to 15 knots. Variable to southeast to 10 for the central coast, east 20 for the west side. And then small brisk wind advisories, Wales to Cape Thompson, east 30 knots. And brisk wind advisories also from Wales now to Cape Beaufort and up, or actually all of the Arctic coast, brisk wind advisories, east 25 knots and northeast 25 from Cape Beaufort to Wales. And for tonight, some lower stuff creating some lingering flurries and fog there over the eastern interior, but generally clearing out with light winds as high pressure moves into the central interior. Deteriorating conditions, increasing wind and snow and blowing snow along the southwest coast late tonight to St. Lawrence Island. And windy and wet for the Aleutians and Bering Sea. Diminishing snow showers for the Panhandle. And for tomorrow, that frontal boundary pushes inland, holds together pretty well, so look for snow and blowing snow, winter storm warnings out for the area there that's covered in precipitation. And again, blizzard conditions end though for St. Lawrence Island, Bering Strait coast at noon. Otherwise, winds 50 miles an hour, maybe a couple inches of snow. Increasing clouds, central interior, fair and clear, light winds, east side, north slope Arctic coast. Dry for the Panhandle with a fair amount of sunshine. Gets replaced with rain and snow on Monday.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.